There was one report from Capgemini Research Institute published in 2019 in which they summarized findings after interviewing some 200, maybe, no, sorry, 1,300 managers worldwide about what are the future skills in this era of artificial intelligence.
Let's say, for example, in a project management situation, how would emotional intelligence improve the project performance, the deadlines, the cost, dealing with the clients, dealing with your teams, etc.?
So Daniel Goleman is saying, define emotional intelligence as our capacity to connect up with ourselves and connection with our emotions and the ones of others for better relationships.
A manager who, I would say, lacks managerial or leadership skills, pretty common, and they're focused on themselves, on their own growth, but with their team, communication is not good. They don't care about their fulfillment.
The day that you consider yourself as the first and the last person responsible of what is happening to you in your career, professional, personal life, is you, then you got really high level in emotional intelligence.
Welcome back to Melting Spices, the podcast where bold career shifts, cultural blends, and human-centered leadership mix and simmer. Today's guest, Mehdi El Khachia, Regional Head of Learning and Development at a global consultancy, technology, and digital transformation company, went from IT project management to leading global teams with emotional intelligence at the core. We'll talk self-awareness, fulfillment, and how to overcome the fear of change, one small intentional step at a time. If you've ever felt stuck or unsure about your next move, this episode is for you. And hey, if it resonates, follow, rate, and share it with someone navigating their own transformation. Let's dive in. So, let's go back to the beginning. You started as an IT project manager, and then you transitioned to more, I would say, people and leadership oriented position. How was the transition and what made you switch?
Thank you for the question, Zainab. Thank you for the invite as well. Happy to share this moment with your audience and with you, Zainab, to share a little bit of my experience. Great question, actually. Well, I initially started as a computer science, consultant for like 3 years after graduating with a bachelor in computer science. So initially, I'm an engineer guy. I spent 3 years coding applications, doing some web, jobs, and then I progressively noticed that it's not really my thing that makes, someone who's energetic, happy, enthusiastic, and so on. And I found that time that I am more into, human relationships, being in touch with people, dealing with people directly, and so on. So that what initially motivated me to go from this job of being in front of a screen to being in a mode of running meetings, being within a team, talking to a client, talking to senior managers, and so on. So that's how, let's say, the first elements of the transformation journey started that time. So this is how I moved from computer science work to more of relationship management and projects management more precisely. So that's the first part. And then, maybe we'll talk about it later. I moved again from project management area, still within the IT domain or sector, to something, completely different, which is more related to the, learning and development, HR, and so on. But yeah, this is how, I made the transformation through several milestones that I'm happy to share later on. But also there were important events that made this, change happen and helped me took the decision.
Okay, I'm interested in digging more into these events. Let's
Okay.
start with a unique path that you took, pursuing an MBA in emotional intelligence. So, what made you? You mentioned that you did not feel that computer sciences or a technical position fulfills you. What drew you to emotional intelligence, knowing that this happened, I would say 15 years ago or something like this? So, it was quite new at that point, at that time.
Mm. That's true, Zainab. And I mean, you're right. When I enrolled myself and started an MBA degree, part-time MBA at that time, after 3 years of experience, I had to choose one specific topic related to management, right? So the first thing I did that time is to consult I mean, some of the trends or trendy topics within famous institutes, which is the Projects Management Institute website. And to my, surprise, I found that people are making studies on emotional intelligence. So I think that was back to 2010, something like this, or 2009. And it was surprising for me because that was the first time I'm hearing the term emotional intelligence. This is one. The second thing is that what is the relationship between emotional intelligence and management? So that would was kind of difficult for me. So that's how I started, learning about emotional intelligence, and I found out that, American teams they made really huge progress into studying this form of intelligence and bringing numbers regarding how important it is for the organizations to perform. So I choose that topic as related to people's satisfaction and autonomy in their working environment. And I had the opportunity to run, that time to prepare my self training after a self learning on emotional intelligence, prepare my own training on emotional intelligence. And I still remember, it took me maybe 8 months to build, 1 day training because that was really new for me and I needed to master the concepts. So I ran that program that time. I conducted the study, and the study confirmed that people who followed the emotional intelligence training, they had a better score regarding their job satisfaction and job autonomy, knowing that we did not change anything in their working environments. We had a control group that made us sure that we didn't change anything in the environment. So the control group kept the same score as initial ones, but the group who took the training really made important progress when it comes to job satisfaction and autonomy. So the tricky question here is what made this change? This score improve. And basically, you can guess the answer is thanks to emotional intelligence. And then, we deep dive a little bit more of what are the skills included in emotional intelligence there that make people improve their autonomy, their work, but also being happier in their jobs that time. So
Okay,
that's how I started the journey on emotional intelligence.
very interesting, actually. Um, I will skip few questions since we're started to talk about emotional intelligence. So, for those who are not familiar with the concept, can you explain what is emotional intelligence, and maybe describe in like a corporate context how can emotional intelligence improve, as you said, the score of, I would say, performance or satisfaction?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Well, we can define emotional intelligence through several, experts or school, let's say, theories, related to emotional intelligence. I would focus on the one of Daniel Goleman, who popularized and vulgarized the term emotional intelligence through a bestseller book called Emotional Intelligence.
I had to read a few pages of his book to be able to talk to you today.
But it's really interesting book. It was my starting, reading to discover this world of emotional intelligence. And the book is really interesting in a way. It gives inspiring real life stories, besides the scientific evidence, because this is what attracts people more, is having figures, scientific evidence that make them, close to the topic, trust what you're saying, of course. So Daniel Goleman is saying, define emotional intelligence as our capacity to connect up with ourselves and connection with our emotions and the ones of others for better relationships. So this is how he brought four domains of emotional intelligence, or four dimensions, let's say, which are the self-awareness, the self-regulation, the social awareness, and relationship management. So if I want to take maybe a few seconds to explain each dimension here, self-awareness is about how well we know ourselves, how well we connect with our emotions, right? How well we spend time with ourselves to resource ourselves, to, make a check on how we are progressing, how we are progressing regarding what? Regarding life objectives. So this is what we do also when we talk about self-awareness, is how well we know ourselves and own life objectives. I'm not talking about the working or the day-to-day objectives in my office, in my job, my deliverables. No, I'm talking about 5, 10, 15 years, objectives. That's the main component of self-awareness. So this is one regarding self-awareness. The second dimension is more of self-management or self-regulation. So this is how we can better manage emotions, and specifically the strong emotions, like anger, for instance, and how to avoid what we call amygdala hijack, amygdala hijacking, when we do something under the control of that strong emotion, and few seconds later we regret, right? So we help the people understand what happened here, scientifically speaking, and how they can reduce this kind of, behaviors or impact. So these two first dimensions are about us, right? And then the two remaining ones are about others, how we know others. So social awareness, so it's more related to empathy, active listening, assertiveness. And then the last dimension is relation or relationship management, which make people more aware how important to be selective in our relationships, how important the daily routines, the daily simple actions that can build amazing relationships, sustainable relationships. And at the end, how also we can avoid all the toxic relationships that might be around us, and how we can handle them. So I just gave you a global overview of the different dimensions of emotional intelligence. But the idea first for me is to really focus a lot on self-awareness. This is key. This is eyes opening, and this is the trigger, toward the other dimensions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can imagine in a corporate environment, if we teach these things to employees and everybody is focused on their own self-awareness, it can avoid many issues, or many struggles in completing projects or reaching deadlines. I'm interested in knowing, during that training you mentioned, um, what were the points that improved the scores for your trainees? And let's say, for example, in a project management situation, how would emotional intelligence improve the project performance, the deadlines, the cost, dealing with the clients, dealing with your teams, etc.?
Yeah, interesting question. Well, emotional intelligence, as I mentioned, improving the job satisfaction, autonomy. Let's talk first about autonomy. So, when we talk about self-regulation or self-management as the second dimension of emotional intelligence, we define it as the level or degree of autonomy that a person can have on their or his or her own development. Meaning that the moment, the day that you consider yourself as the first and the last person responsible of what is happening to you in your career, professional, personal life, is you, then you got really high level in emotional intelligence, a high level in self-regulation. So that's what made people that time aware of the importance of taking responsibility. It's my decision. What is happening is because of what I took as a decision, because what I'm doing on a day-to-day, it's not because of the ecosystem. That what made people autonomous in their way of doing things. So
Right.
that's one. Job satisfaction, to the other extent, was basically thanks to the fact that people valued in a different way what they're doing on a daily basis in their job. Because yes, we are there to have a salary at the end of the month, but we are humans. We are here also to meet people, to entertain relationships. So we have to connect with people. We have to use our empathy skills. We have to socialize with people. We have to be careful how to manage relationships. So that's why people change their perception of what is satisfaction in their job. To give you one example, to be concrete here, I still remember the first group I had the opportunity to train. One person, participant, she used to be the assistant of the general management, but also the person who usually welcome people to the working place. She's in the front of desk and she's the first person. So every day we were like coming, she was like saying hello with smiley, with a beautiful smile, banana smile, and how are you? How is family? So she was like bringing this great energy the early stage of your day. So that's had an impact on others, the way they finish or they run their day. So but she was not aware of this. She was not aware, but she got to know it during the training, because we had like a session where we gave people feedback. We provided feedback, and she was, wow, I didn't know that I had such an impact on you guys, which is very simple. I'm not doing, something extraordinary, but I'm doing it, because I feel also good about it. So she puts more effort on that. You can imagine.
Yeah.
So that's what emotional intelligence is about, especially the social awareness. So this is how people, improve their satisfaction regarding their job.
Okay. Very interesting, actually, especially pointing out something that has a good impact on people, how it makes them focus on it even more. Very interesting. So, Mehdi, let me give you, I would say, three cases that are pretty common in the corporate world. And maybe you can suggest how applying emotional intelligence or which skills maybe in emotional intelligence can improve these situations.
Okay,
And
sure.
look, yeah, first case would be a manager who I would say lacks managerial or leadership skills, pretty common. And they're focused on themselves, on their own growth. They are more interested in their own image towards the clients, the hierarchy, etc. But with their team, communication is not good. They don't care about their fulfillment, their growth, how happy they are, um, which, for example, may trigger bad reactions with the team. Either they stop caring, as you said, they come just because they are having salary at the end of the month, but they don't really care about. Um, I don't. There is no integrity anymore. There is no interest in what they're doing. They just do the bare minimum, or maybe for the more impulsive ones, they would it would trigger like bad communication with the manager, bad communication with the whole hierarchy. Maybe they would leave their position and then go again through the struggle of finding someone else, etc., etc., training them, etc. So in this case, how can emotional intelligence improve the three behaviors?
That's, a common question, let's say, and common, case that we experience, I know, many times. And For me, the key point here, Zainab, is self-awareness. We cannot improve this situation if the manager himself herself is not aware of this first. And how to be aware is by conducting assessments. The 360 feedback, for example, assessment can help the manager to be aware of what he's lacking as emotional intelligence skills. Let me give you another example here. And this is a real example actually from a successful manager, Moroccan manager who used to manage complex projects, complex teams, multi-cultural teams, and so on. And he thought that he was a great leader, right? A great manager because he achieved every year his objectives, the financial one. So KPIs were like on green all the time. But what happened to him after, I don't know, maybe 20, 22 years of experience is that he took the 360 feedback assessment, So he was shocked by the feedback. 9 people out of 10 said he is a brutal manager. You know, can you imagine his reaction? How, my God, I thought that I am a nice manager. No, 9 people out of 10. And more than this, one comment that came into that assessment said that a colleague, a woman who lost her mom, he called her and said, "My condolences." And in the same, sentence, he asks about the project.
Oh,
And he said, my intention was not to ask about the projects. My intention was just to take her from something sad to something, kind of different, right? This is one. And the second point is that he's not that comfortable talking about emotions and sharing his vulnerability. Losing a mom is a difficult and sad situation, event, and he couldn't relate to that somehow. He was not. So that's how he discovered later on that he should really work on this. That's why people are saying you're not a human person. So he worked on that, and I was happy to see his testimonial in a closing session. We train people sharing this because the good news is that we can work on it at any stage, any level. That's the good news about emotional intelligence. And now he's a different person. He's sleeping well today. Because he transformed himself. He's bringing something different to people, to his people. So that's so I think back to your question, self-awareness is key, and from that we can see where I should focus more. Maybe I need to develop my listening skills. I'm not that good when I talk to my teams. It's more about my opinion, about how I know to do things. The others needs to listen to me. No, sometimes it's also about listening to them. It's getting their feedback as well. Even that they are wrong somehow, but take the time to listen carefully. Sometimes you might be surprised positively about the quality of their feedback and answer, and especially when you give them the floor to be creative, to give them the floor to think, to challenge you as well. And that's a great skill of a leader who provide the opportunity to his teams to challenge him somehow to develop their critical thinking and so on. This comes through the assertiveness skill and active listening skill.
in your experience, and if you can take us also through your career path, you were into HR before going to leadership and L&D. Uh, what triggered this change, and how ready was the company you work in ready to implement all those changes and put the focus on the people?
Yeah. Well, let me maybe go back to a major event, or major events that happened in my life that made me, move from one discipline, IT project management to leadership related topics, training, L&D. learning and development, and so on. So in my career, actually, I went through several stressing situations, you know, several stressing situations with almost zero added value to me. So I felt like, doing quite the same thing every day, not really getting any added value from the people I used to interact with, and it was like becoming somehow toxic for me, so I couldn't sleep well the night. I couldn't do any other activities for myself, sports or having fun with friends or traveling. So there were several events, and one major one at the end, um, with a conflict with the management, in which I said, okay, hold on, I think you are no more in the right experience for you. You are no more in the right, context. And sometimes, believe it or not, there are simple, I would say even stupid things that happen in your life, but you need to listen to them. You need to take decision. You say, okay, that's it, I'm done. Going to something else. And this is what happened to me, So based on a very stupid event, I said, okay, I'm moving on. I'm moving to something different. I took a risk, and I'm not regretting today. So that what happened. So that's how I introduced myself to a different context in which I was able, to live a passion of training people, sharing knowledge on emotional intelligence and other topics. Uh, and then I had responsibility of managing projects still within the IT sector and so on. But I kept in parallel proposing myself, hello, I can run trainings on emotional intelligence, I can do this, I can do that, and so on and so forth. Then came one day where they called me within Capgemini still now for an interview with final client. That client was looking for a senior project director, to run a specific project for them. And during the interview, I introduced myself and I was talking about myself. And you can guess, I of course talked about emotional intelligence and what I did as a work. And then he stopped me, he asked me the question, hold on, tell me more about it. So I explained what emotional intelligence is about. And then he said, do you apply this at home? And that's a tricky question, right? So I said, well, yes and no. Depends. I cannot tell you yes. And then I explained why and so on. He was really interested and he said, you know what, Mehdi, you just forget about the position I'm looking for. I need you for something different. I need you to run a program on emotional intelligence for the 23K people in my school. So I give you everything. I am aware of such important, and that came actually at the beginning of COVID period as well, where, we talked a lot about how we can handle uncertainty, emotions, fear and so on. So it came actually out on the right time, and he provided all the means, the facilities for me to co-create, because I had also the chance to have one amazing partner to initiate the program with me that time in 2021. And then it's still running, for almost 5 years now, almost after a pilot study. But then 5 years, thousands of people trained worldwide. We have like 40 to 45 facilitators who run the program. But I would say the essence of this sharing and this story, Zainab, is that it's always good to be prepared for an opportunity than having an opportunity and not being prepared. And then what happened to me? I got an opportunity. I was prepared. I got everything. I could sell myself easily. But this work of 10 years, 11 years, 12 years on a regular basis.
That's really amazing. So, what I learned from what you just said is that one, you were not happy in this situation, no longer happy, and you took the chance to just quit and do something else, which is actually the essence of the podcast I'm doing, just to encourage people that there are other things out there. Happy means you're not participating in the society, so you should look for something that you're happy doing. And second, you marketed yourself. you have an extra skill that has nothing to do with what you're doing, the technical aspect, but you marketed it and you worked on improving it, which, as you said, enabled you to take the opportunity once you had it. Very, very interesting. And also, the company, Capgemini, that encouraged you to do so and gave you the platform to do so. And it's very interesting to know that the training is now still running after 5 years. It's very interesting. So it's also encouraging to know that companies do care about these things, which makes me go to my next question: learning and development in the corporate world. Um, how can the learning topics, I would say, be agile? For example, you mentioned COVID. The staff needed had extra needs that were not maybe there before. In the IT world, changes are very common and very quick. Again, how can we incorporate all these things into the learning and development? Is it doable? Do people do it? Do you do it? And how?
We do, of course, um, work on a yearly program roadmap for our L&D topics, but also we keep ourselves kind of agile and flexible to add, change, or delete, some of the training L&D topics based on what the market is also looking for, right? Because basically we are lucky to have the Capgemini Research Institute that provides studies, that can help us also shape the future skills, the skills of the future. That this is one. We also develop proximity with operational teams because these operational teams are in direct relationship with the client, with the customer. So they feed us with feedback regarding what should really people trained on or what we should change. Maybe we were kind of not that correct initially, so we adapt. But to do this, you have to, and this is for me key, to empower your people, because I'm not working alone. Nobody's working alone, So I'm working as with a team, a wonderful, fantastic team that are really focusing on the local needs, and they have autonomy. So we are not saying you have to do this, right? No, they have full autonomy to change, to adapt, and share. So that's why I'm saying you have to empower your people so that they can also be curious to know what should be changed, what should be added, and they develop their creativity. And that's important. I would say also keeping a good flow of communication is important. So what you're doing, what is your next step, how we are progressing, create this channel of communication so that people can feed you all the time. Do not wait for the end of the year to say, hello, this is what we presented in January, this is what we achieved by the 31st of December, and what do you know? It's too late, So we keep a regular channel flow of communication to update, to stay agile, to the market changes, but also to the operational team's requests.
Very interesting. Again, it's like it's not a top bottom approach. It's quite the opposite. Yeah. And as you said, it's good to empower your teams, because when you're a team, obviously, when you hire the good people, they bring good feedback, they bring a good added value. And when they grow, you also grow. The whole team grows, which should be what collaborating is about. In Capgemini, I remember you follow the sun concept, so which means that you collaborate not only across time zones but also across cultures. And when you mentioned that the training was given to teams across many countries, means it was adapted to different cultures. So how do you make sure that whatever learning program you develop is adapted, and how these differences in cultures enrich your content and your leadership?
Well, actually, that's the beauty, when you work in such platforms, multinationals, you got the opportunity to, collaborate with people from different cultures, areas, religions, and so on. So that's the beauty because it's a learning journey, all the time. It's like, spending one day in the airport, international airport, you keep, meeting people, different ethnicities, and so on. But that's really amazing for us as trainers. But I would go beyond the culture and the countries, Zainab. It's more about the people. Because for me, delivering such kind of training, maybe we talk about almost the same, concepts, right? But it's not the same experience. The
Mm.
experience is made different thanks to the people participating to the training, because each person brings his or her own story, to the group. Because when we talk emotional intelligence, we are vulnerable. We talk about ourselves, our experience. We open up, and that's the moment, the magic moment during the train where people connect, share their own experience. And that's what helped also the facilitators to learn more about it. Because we keep learning from people. What happened to that person? You just explain the thing, the theoretical part of it, maybe, and then people start reaction. Yes, it happened to me. I am this kind of person, and this is what I used to do. Or some people, they said, I used to be, but I did, I worked on it. And this is what I have done. And thanks to that person who told me one day this and that, now I am a different person. So you keep learning from the different cultures, of course, different people, especially from the people. But frankly speaking, we did not say we need to adjust the content because this is a particular culture. No, the only thing we changed is the language. We had to deliver it in Brazil. We had to train people who talk Portuguese. We had to train in Spain. We needed Spanish speaking, people. Same thing in Italy, same thing in Poland, and so on. The countries where it was preferable to have native, speakers, local ones, than running it in English. That's the only adjustment I would say. But emotions are universal. Let me, be
Yeah,
honest. Actually,
I can imagine. Yeah. Uh, so, talking about universality of emotion, what are the human skills that you think every one of us should develop? I would say, especially soft skills, of course, especially now that everybody's talking about AI taking over technical roles. And we're also seeing emotional AI being developed and growing. So, as human beings, what do you think we should stick to and maybe improve as skills?
uh, well, first let me say that I personally don't think that one day we will have emotional intelligence incorporated in artificial intelligence. This is my own, feedback and opinion, because at the end of the day, we need to see people, we need to feel people, we need to be with people, and this will never happen with AI. We develop robots. I still remember one story in Japan, a hotel that took the experience to change the task force to robots, right? And replace them with robot equipped with AI and so on. The experience couldn't last more than a month. Clients wanted people there, right? For several reasons that you can guess, but it is what it is. So I personally don't think that's one day it will happen, but we have to live with it. We have to live with AI today, and I think that's a good question because in that report that I referred to, that was published by Capgemini, I don't know if I talked about it earlier or not, but there was one. There was one report from Capgemini Research Institute published in 2019 in which they summarized findings after interviewing some 200, maybe, no, sorry, 1,300 managers worldwide about what are the future skills in this era of artificial intelligence. So most of them, they were like mentioning skills that are part of emotional intelligence. We need people who can face clients, have good relationships with them. We need people who can have active listening, people with empathy, managers with empathy. So they were talking about emotional intelligence. So that's why it is key today to work on our emotional intelligence. Now, also, I think your question also is related to the soft skills that we need today, and we are kind of missing, right? So, because of what is happening today in AI, but not only AI, I would say the digital world, the virtual world, we lost our capacity to focus. We lost our capacity to concentrate. With whom? With others. We completely lost this because our brain is busy thinking of what? Thinking of this, right? So this is all the time, next to us is the notifications are on. So our brain is busy. Not only this, and this is not my, saying. It's the studies that confirm this. It's because of the short videos that we keep scrolling in our screens. We trained our muscle to not focus more than 10 seconds, 6 seconds. If something lasts more than 15, 20 seconds, even if it's interesting for me, I cannot. My brain is not able to focus. He needs to go to something else, right? So, because we train this muscle to not focus. And why I'm talking about this, not being able to focus means not being able to listen to people. So you're talking to me, after 30 seconds, 1 minute, I'm gone to something different. Sometimes it's not intentional, but the brain is like this because we train the brain. And I think my experience when I share this with people, they say, yes, it happens to me. And sometimes I'm scrolling, I don't know, recipes, some recipes, some delicious meals. But the moment that woman is taking more than a minute to explain the ingredients, I cannot stand. I need to move to something different. Even if it's really good, looks good, delicious. But it is what it is. We lost this focus, this capacity to concentrate, for a good amount of time. Adults, kids, and everyone today because of the social media. But again, there is always good news, of course. We can switch, we can change. First thing to be aware, and then reduce the consumption of social media. This is, I think, a different topic, but it's very much related to your question, Zainab. The soft skills we lost today, we need them back to better connect with people, with our families, with our dear ones, is the listening skill. That's important. Active listening in addition to empathy. As well, we say empathy connects people, sympathy disconnects people, and we have to be aware of the difference, between the two. Empathy is putting ourselves in the other's, shoes and trying to connect with the same feeling. Sympathy is trying to be nice, but without necessarily connection with that person. Huh? So that's the major difference, and we need more of empathy, than sympathy today.
I'll come to our last question in this interview. So, someone listening to us, hopefully they reached this point of the video, if they are thinking of switching careers and moving maybe from a technical position to a more people-oriented role, what would you say helped you most in your transition, and what would you give them as an advice?
Yeah, sure. Well, I will be very simple, Zainab. People who would like to change, they are not comfortable in what they are doing today, and they have a passion. They really know that they are passionate about being in a sharing experience situation, being in front of a group of students, being with customers, being in social work. I don't know, something like this or whatever. They should start simple, small. Take small actions, small actions on a regular basis. Do not say, all right, my ambition in 5 years is to be, I don't know, professor. I would like to be an expert in a specific domain. Okay, that's ambitious. That's really beautiful. However, what are you doing today to move forward, to get closer to that objective? And be simple. A simple action can be very simple. Maybe reading 2 or 3 pages a day, watching a video related to your passion, or connection with someone who shares the same interest. Go into a specific event, but put in your agenda small actions, Do not wait till the end of the year to say, okay, new resolution, new object. No, this is not working, never. So it should be every day new resolution. How can I get closer to my 5 years or 10 years objective? So start simple and keep what we call the momentum. Because if you start, that's you're getting yourself starting means that there is ambition, there is motivation, but discipline is what gets you there, actually, being disciplined. That's the key message. And I'm not saying discipline, every day. That's fine. Make it at least once a week. You are not able to make it once a week, every 2 weeks. But keep the momentum running, going. Do not kill it and say, I'll wait for my next birthday, right? So keep it simple. Start with small actions, the short, quick wins.
Thank you so much, Mehdi. This was really on point, and we talked about so many things in such a short time. Thank you for sharing your experience, your knowledge, and for giving us time today during this podcast.
Dana for the invite and was happy, taking these minutes to interact and exchange with you, Zainab. Thank you for the interesting question, amazing ones, and good luck with your podcast. Really amazing idea, and keep the great level of energy and motivation doing it, Zainab. All the best. Thank you.
So much. Thank you, Mehdi. And as I tell everybody at the end of the podcast, I like to keep curious, keep learning. That's what drives us at the end. Thank you so much.
Thank you.